All right, today we are looking at the Prime Venom from the Spider-Man and Venom Absolute Carnage set. He is set number 7B. He comes in with the keywords Codex, Maximum Carnage, Sinister Syndicate, Spider-Man Family, Monster, and Reporter. So a lot of good keywords in there. Now this Prime is pretty cool on what he can do. So we're going to take a quick look at his card. Then we're going to look at who can secret identity into him. And we're going to look at some setups on the battlefield. You'll notice that the Prime here, he has improved movement elevation and improved movement hindering. His first trait is Plasticity Shape Change. When Venom KOs an opposing character after resolutions, heal 1 click. If that character had the Codex keyword, heal 3 clicks instead. So traded ability to be able to heal as he KOs. He has a special movement power, which is charge, but do not half speed. So that's the great thing that he brings to the table here. When Venom uses it after resolutions, deal 1 penetrating damage to each adjacent character, friendly and opposing. So he can full range charge, hit somebody, and then deal 1 penetrating damage after resolutions to that character and anybody else that's adjacent to Venom. He has a stop click at the end of his dial, which gives him toughness. It also gives him free roll a d6. On a result of 1, give Venom an action token. 2 through 5, choose one to last until your next turn. Impervious or regeneration. So another way that he can heal there on his stop click. Remember, on a stop click, your regen and support, you would reduce your healing by 1. And if he rolls a 6, he has heal 2 clicks. Now that, of course, would not be susceptible to the -1 through support or regen from the stop click. So that 6 is you just heal 2 clicks. Okay, let's take a look at the back of his card. He is coming in at 80 points with 4 range and Spider-Man Family team ability. For the 80 points, you're going to have 7 clicks of life. You'll notice he has that full range charge on his first 3 clicks. On the top click, that's teamed up with Blades with an 11 attack, 18 defense, he's indomitable, and a 3 damage. He has reducers throughout his dial. On that last click, the reducer is going to be toughness on top of the stop click. It starts with 18 defense on his first 3 clicks, then moves on to 17 for the second half of his dial. His damage stays consistent at 3 and then goes up to 4 on his stop click. You'll notice in the middle of his dial there, or on the second half of his dial, he has Close Combat Expert. His full range charge turns into normal charge and then is Flurry Steel Energy on the last 2 clicks. And again, one of those is a stop click. So in addition to his trait where he heals if he KOs a person, he has the stop click at the end, which gives him a 2 through 5 roll to get regen, or he has Flurry Steel Energy on those last 2 clicks depending on where you land. Those are multiple ways to heal and to extend that 80-point dial. The good thing on that stop click, it's always great to heal off of a stop click because then your opponent has to deal with that stop click again. So the Flurry Steel Energy gives them a chance to heal up to potentially off of the stop click. The regen on the stop click gives them a chance to heal off of it. The ability to KO somebody with Flurry Steel Energy and 4 damage gives him the ability to get additional heals out of that. So let's say he's on click 7. You flurry into an opponent, hit them the first time, but do not KO them. You deal them damage. You're going to have 1 Steel Energy heal pending. You hit them with the second flurry, deal them damage and KO them. Now you have a second Steel Energy heal, and then his trait would kick in and give you an additional heal since you KO'd a person. So you would have 3 clicks of healing after resolutions there. If that character happened to have the, the Codex keyword, then you would heal 3 clicks instead, plus the 2 from Steel Energy, so potentially you could heal off of that stop click back up 5 clicks to put him on click number 2. So that's crazy good. You'll notice he has 3 clicks there on 9, 10, and 11 on his dial. Those are his secret identity when he gets brought in from Eddie Brock. You'll notice that he also has the full range charge on that top click and the blades. So that full range charge, whenever Eddie gets would be KO'd, you can drop in Venom and move 10 squares, then attack. Then you can also deal the penetrating damage that we talked about. So that can be pretty devastating to your opponent. Okay, let's take a look on the battlefield of how that all plays out. All right, let's take a look on the battlefield of how that Venom full range charge and then the penetrating damage can play out. So as you remember, this Prime Venom has improved movement hindering and improved movement elevation. So on this map, there's all kinds of elevation here. It's a little bit hard to tell, but he is on elevation 4. Here's elevation 2, 3, 4, back down to 2, or back down to 3, 2, and then the opponents are way over here. We have Spider-Man, Prowler, and Mary Jane Watson over here on elevation 4. So you can barely see him over there. Here's Prime Venom. He could full range charge, so 10 squares, all the way to here, over all that elevation, up and down the elevation, and then he can, he could blades, or let's see, he has blades on his top dial, so you could charge blades into Spider-Man or into Mary Jane Watson. And then afterwards, when he uses that full range charge, he deals 1 penetrating damage to each adjacent character. So he would deal penetrating to all 3 of them. Now it does not mean that he has to hit anybody after he charges. He could just charge if he misses his attack, or if he attacks and they reduce out of it, especially if he blades, that doesn't matter. He's still going to be dealing that penetrating damage afterwards. So an extremely far reach with additional damage after the attack is fantastic. Now he's in there with his plasticity and shape change, so he's tying up those characters he's adjacent to, and he has the chance to shape change out of their counterattacks. He is indomitable, so then he can do something the next turn. And remember, he has multiple ways to heal. So after he's tied up, if they get through his shape change, he has a reducer here on the top dial. Maybe they hit him for a few. They might knock him on to Close Combat Expert, which can bump up these stats. And then if he KOs somebody, he'll be healing off of that. Depending on their keyword, he could be healing up to 3 clicks. So he has a far range. Then he has a real good tie-up piece with plasticity and shape change, with reducers and the ability to heal. Those are all the things that you want in a tie-up piece. The ability to shape change out of it, reducers, ways that you can heal, so you can take some hits and then heal yourself. And then that full range charge with the penetrating damage is just a bonus on top. So as he enters into that tie-up situation, you're dealing damage, and then you're dealing free damage after that, and then doing your tie-up. So a fantastic piece. Now let's see how that works with his secret identity. Okay, so let's take a look at this setup. So Eddie Brock is a character that has secret identity Toxin and Venom. So he can change into Prime Venom. The secret identity trait reads, when Eddie Brock would be KO'd, you may instead replace him with a secret identity character with a listed name on click number 9. This game, when that replacement is KO'd, it scores this character's points and an additional 25 points. So if your opponent works through Eddie's dial of 4 clicks for 35 points. Your opponent would not score those 35 points. Eddie, instead of being KO'd, would be replaced with Prime Venom as an example and have to work through those 3 clicks before your opponent gets any types of points. So it's a good strategy to make your opponent sink attacks into this 35-point character. And Eddie happens to have plasticity and shape change, so the ability to shape change out of some attacks. And he's autonomous. And then if they do work through those 4 clicks, instead of scoring any points, now they have to deal with Prime Venom. And if they do work through Prime Venom, then they'd be scoring 35 plus 25 for a total of 60 points. But they'd have to sink a lot of work into those 60 points. All right, on the battlefield, here's how this could work. Eddie by himself is a pretty good piece. He has sidestep of 2 with an 8 movement. He has a 10 attack, which is respectable for 35 points. He has toughness, so a reducer, so they actually have to hit him with some damage. They can't just poison him. He's autonomous. He has a 4 range, and he has ranged combat expert. So no willpower, which you wouldn't expect all those powers and willpower on a 35-point character. But if he can move in there or be carried, then he could be ranged combat expert, swinging with a 12 attack for 2 damage or a 10 attack for 4 damage. And the plasticity means that it's something that your opponent has to deal with. If you use him as a tie-up, once he gets on click 3 and 4, he has the shape change, of course, but then he also has combat reflexes, so it's going to make him a 19 and an 18 up close there to hit, and he'll be dealing out 3 and 2 damage with Empower. So if other people follow him in, he'll be boosting up their damage also. So it's not a character that your opponent can really ignore. I would play Eddie as somebody that you put into the mix, so I wouldn't leave him back. I'd get him in there, make your opponent deal with it. If they try to get him before he becomes a tie-up piece, so that could be a strategy your opponent uses. They don't want to be tied up with a shape change, plasticity, 35-point character that goes on to combat reflexes, so they might try to shoot him before he gets in close. So if that happens, on this kind of setup, you have the opponents over here, you have Eddie here. If they shoot him and KO him, instead of being KO'd, he would leave and be replaced with Prime Venom. Now, Prime Venom on that top click then, he could then do his full range charge and try to hit one of them and then deal out the penetrating damage to everybody adjacent to Venom. The other thing is, even though Eddie doesn't have willpower, if Eddie had a token, so if he had to move in there and get tokened up, the replacement here has Indom. So the token carries over on replacement characters. So Venom would come in with a token, but then that wouldn't restrict him because he has willpower, so he can then still charge in the next turn and do some damage. Okay, and again, that's full range. I'm just demonstrating up close here for just for demonstration purposes. But if they really range Eddie, they probably don't have more than a 10 range when they do that. So as Venom pops out, he can then charge across the board and get that next attack with the penetrating damage afterwards. All right, those are a couple examples of how Prime Venom can work to your advantage. I've already seen him on some competitive teams, and I expect to probably see more of them as people start digging into how to do team builds out of this current set. All right, let me know your ideas down below in the comments. Thanks for watching today. Check it out. If you dig what we do, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.